For many, the stories of ice and glaciation is one that brings back dim and maybe not fond memories of geography lessons of our past. We could not see what the teachers were going on about, as we'd never seen anything like the mass of ice that was once covering Ireland. 24,000 years ago, the sea around the planet was 120 metres lower than it is today. That is a whole football pitch lower. This is because so much of the world's water was then locked up in frozen ice sheets that covered the world above ground. If one was flying over Ireland at the time, all you could see was ice, snow, and an occasional peak poking up through.
And it holds a huge volume of ice, so much that the whole of Ireland is covered in ice. All of this was covered in ice, absolutely covered in ice. Hundreds of metres of ice, maybe even a kilometre of ice, on top of what we're looking at now.
Yes, he said hundreds of metres above the hills you can see. In fact, at the height of the glaciation period, the ice would have been a massive mountain above any human.
If you were standing down by that lake, there could have been 2 kilometres of ice above your head.
That is a height of 6 times the Eiffel Tower, or 19 football pitches above your head.
And that ice then flows outwards from this ice cap and reaches nearly the Bay of Biscay to the south and stretches right out onto the continental shelf off the west coast of Ireland. So that ice cap covers the whole country.
Not only that, but the weight that the ice created squashed the landscape below.
And we think that depression could have been 50 to 100 metres, so massive compression.
The ice sheet covering the Wicklow Hills that had combined with the larger ice sheet over the most of Kildare now retreated due to temperature rise, and with each sheet melting away, it left a gap in the middle.
And in this gap there is tons and tons of meltwater because these glaciers are melting, and the water can't escape, so it ponds between the Wicklow mountain ice cap and the main ice cap, which is now retreating, and we get a huge glacial lake formed. And that lake, 27 kilometres long, 7 kilometres across, 300 metres deep, that's a lot of water. Then there'd been an arm of the glacial lake would have come right up into here, and it's quite likely that this break slope down in this field down here is where the edge of the lake was, and the flat floor out there is the top end of the arm of the lake. The lake would have had icebergs on it. There would have been no trees. We wouldn't have seen past these ridges, but these hills here would have been covered in remnants of melting ice.
The Liffey as we know it today did not exist. It began to be a river when a tiny crack in the wall of granite at Pulafuka was breached, and the massive pressure of water behind the crack, pressed on down by a mass of ice, caused a jet of water that cut through the landscape below. It is still very steep cut today.
You only have to stand on the bridge at Pulafuka and see just how powerful that water was flowing through there. So that's where it gets its power, its energy from. And all they've done to create the modern reservoir is to build a dam in a glacial meltwater channel.
That water from the leak at Pulafuka ran wild down the gradient until stopped or turned by any hill or ice barrier. Somewhere around Newbridge in County Kildare, probably a change of temperature meant that the massive retreating wall of ice stayed long enough in one place as a barrier, and because of that would have a profound effect on today's River Liffey.
And one of these channels comes down what is now the Liffey Valley, and it hits the ice cap that's sitting into the northwest, and it can't flow that way, so it turns right and it flows out through its modern course and creates the Liffey Valley. So that's the history. It's formed between 2 ice caps. If the ice hadn't have been there, then the Liffey, what is now the Liffey, would probably have flowed down and out onto the plain, or it would have flowed down and then gone left and gone down out onto the east coast of Ireland further south. But instead it's forced into flowing out and through Dublin, and that's where Dublin is now, and that's what maintains its course.
So glaciation was the cause of the shape and direction of the river today, although back then it was just a mad rush of water coming from a crack in a granite wall surrounding a massive lake at Pulafuka, and carving out a trench that water would tumble into for the next thousands of years, leaving today a dim and distant relative of that energy. But still, a most important river. That is the iconic River Liffey.